My name is Charlene Reas. I was born and raised in Aurora. My parents attended Aurora College. Dad graduated in '49, and he was listed as being an Ivy Leaf winner, but he didn't. He had to take a class, I don't know if it was algebra or a science class, and he didn't do well in it, so he was not part of the Gold Ivy Leaf, even though he's in the yearbook for it, but he didn't, unfortunately. But and then my mother came from New England School of Theology in Boston, Brookline, Massachusetts, and she spent 2 years there. Transferred her credits to Aurora because she was just learning how to be a Sunday school teacher, basically, or a pastor's wife, and then that wouldn't get any income if she needed to support herself, so she came to Aurora College to earn a bachelor's in education, which she did in 1952. But she had married my dad in September of 1951, and I have pictures here of their wedding, and they got married in Lowry Chapel, and they had their reception in the senior room of Eckerd Hall. And so if it hadn't been for Aurora College, I wouldn't be here today because that's where they met. I attended, we lived just blocks from West Aurora High School, so I'm a class of 1971, a proud Blackhawk of West High, and will always be proud of being raised in Aurora, Illinois. Prairie States Conference owned Camp Rood, but then before that they had camp at the campus of Aurora College. People would camp out in tents, and they'd have their tabernacle meetings in the big tent, and it's long before my time. I wasn't around in the 20s, but that's where my grandparents met, I'm sure, was at those camp meetings. So that is a history of Aurora College that not very many people know about. There's a picture of me walking along one of these narrow little gravel paths. But I do remember Spartan Terrace and the green shingle-like fabric that was put over those buildings. My mom and her aunt and my aunt, my mom's sister and her husband lived in one of those apartments at one time. But I do remember Spartan Terrace, and I remember them wondering how they're going to tear it down and move that out. And I remember the Quonset hut. That was the gymnasium. My dad would go and play volleyball there once a week. And my father, William C. Reas, was president of the Alumni Association at one time. And he beat out Senator Mitchler for that position. So we were very proud, and so I went to alumni banquets quite often, especially at that year when Dad was president. But one time they asked for those when Prof. Smith had died, and everybody asked, how was Prof. Smith influenced you? And I was like, Steve and I just sat there because we didn't have classes with him. But I do remember going into his office in the Stevens building and seeing that it was a big mess, and I thought, oh, I pity the person that's going to have to go through all that. Also, it was a January, and my mom had to go to the college for something. I don't remember what it was, but it was, like I said, middle of January. It was cold, but it was a beautiful day. And there was one student outside of Jenks Hall in his short and t-shirts getting his Florida tan in the middle of January. And that's Craig Carter, the president of Aurora College, Advent Christian Village. It was his brother, Chris Carter. I'll never forget that. I have good memories of Aurora College, Aurora University. I appreciate what the college has done. I appreciate the education it gave my parents and my grandparents, and I'm grateful that it has been a school for Advent Christians in the past, and I pray that it is again.